Welcome to another edition of the Giants Huddle podcast brought to you by Citizens. It's the official bank of the New York Football Giants. I am John Schmelk. Thrilled to be joined by Giants starting right tackle Jermaine Eluemunor. Jermaine, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. Just another day in the life.
All right, so I'm going to give you a very broad question, and I'm curious to see where you go with it. Why is the Giants' offensive line playing so well this year?
I'd say the biggest
This could be the longest answer in the world. I don't care.
Yeah,
Take it wherever you want.
I'd say the biggest factor is Carmen Bricollo. I think he's one of the best O-line coaches in the NFL, and I've voiced that, I think, the entire season. He pushes us in practice, the way he prepares us, and the way we practice is a huge part in why we got there and were successful, because there's no drop-off. We treat practice as the game. You take game reps in practice, so when you get out there, there's no drop-off, and there's no changes like speed, no change of pace. Conditioning, I think we're really well conditioned as well because of the work we put in the off season and during the season. And also we just really want to be great. We've heard about how the offensive lines here haven't been that good, and we're just tired of it. And having guys like AT, Runyon, Schmidt, GVR, and me who really care about this game and this franchise, I think means a lot.
I want to go back to Bricillo because you guys don't just do one thing, right? You're not just a duo team. You're not just a gap scheme team. There are some teams that run nothing but outside zone. You do everything, right? So how does he manage to get you guys square running so many different things, especially in the run game where a lot of teams have trouble mastering just one of those techniques being their primary mechanism?
I'd say Carm is probably one of, if not the smartest guy in the building, and the way he has us prepared. Going over the scheme, making sure everyone knows where they're going, how to get from point A to point B the quickest, but with the best technique and with the knowledge of knowing how they're going to react to once you get to the point of attacking, how you're going to, figure out how to block them. So Carm is really good with the schematics of the game, but then also the technique, and he knows what it takes in order for us to be a great offensive line, because he's been around great offensive lines, and throughout his entire career, he's coached some good players. And without Carm, I don't think the boat is moving.
Seeing how the group made a jump from last year to this year, and last year when everyone was healthy, you guys played pretty well too, but I think you've taken it to another level this year. Mm-hmm. Where have you seen the value come that you've had the same five guys back in the same spot for a second year?
Yeah, I'd say that chemistry is huge with offensive line play. A lot of the offensive lines in the NFL, a lot of the great ones, they don't have that many injuries that they have to deal with. There's not too many O-line combinations, and last year we had a bunch of O-line combinations, and so that's why it wasn't as clean as we would like it to be. But this year, AT hasn't missed a game since he's come back. Ryan and GV lead the NFL in snaps taken. I missed one game. But then also the depth that we have on this team too. Bo stepped in. Hud earlier in the year was balling. Austin Schlottman, when he had to step in for Schmidt for 2 games, he came in and there was no drop off at all. And that all leads back to Carm. The way he prepares the starters and the backups, and prepare like you're going to play and take every single rep in practice like you're about to play on Sunday. So when you get to the game on Sunday, if you have to step in because someone goes down for a play or two and they have to miss a drive, then there's no drop off at all, and we know how to work with everyone around us. But yeah, I think that having the same five is huge for teams, and chemistry is one of the biggest things for offensive line play.
Where specifically does that show up? Is it handling twists and stuns? Is it passing guys off when you're trying to get to the second level? Where do you see that chemistry actually show up when you go and watch the tape on Monday mornings?
I'd say play style is a big thing.
Okay.
I've been with GV for now 3 years, and so GV knows how I like to play. He knows my tendencies, and he knows what I'm thinking when I get a certain guy out there. I treat everyone the same, and I think that's why I've had a lot of success this year. But some guys you have to give more emphasis to, like the Micah Parsons, the Aiden Hutchinsons, the Max Crosbys, Grenards, Ginkles, Benitos, Coopers of the world. So, he knows what I'm thinking, and so he knows how I'm going to set those guys. And throughout the week, we communicate on what I'm thinking, what he's thinking, how we're going to approach the game. And also, I know how he likes to run block and his techniques, and he knows how I like to run block. And the same thing with Runyon and AT. They've been playing each other for 2 years now. And Schmidt is kind of like the key to everything because he knows all of us. And without Schmidt, like I said, Schlottman came in there and did a hell of a job, and I think he's a great player. But Schmidt's kind of like the tape that keeps us all together.
All right, let's talk about JMS, because I was going to ask you about him. I think he's really taken a jump here in his third year. I think he's played really well this year.
Yeah.
You kind of just talked about it a little bit more detail. How does he bring the group together? How is he the tape that holds you guys together?
It all starts with the center. I think the center is an extension of the coach on the field, and JMS is the smartest guy on the field next to GV. So with him out there, you can trust that he's going to make sure he makes the mic points, tells you where to go. Sometimes, we have a extensive playbook, and so with this playbook, sometimes you can forget things or need help when it comes to remembering certain plays, and JMS knows everything like in the back of his hand. So he's been huge for us this year, but also to see the progress he's made and the jump that he's made too, because obviously he came in as a second-round pick with high expectations, and he played good last year. He probably would have wanted to play better in certain situations, but this year he's been balling and he's starting to come into his own. But I think, when you're given the keys at such a young age, you don't really have any room for, you don't have any time to develop. You got to hit the ground running. And so with JMS, he's been running, and there's certain things that he did really well and certain things he probably wanted to improve on. But this year he's really put it together, and it's been really cool to just play with him and see his growth and progress, and he's really starting to come into his own now, and I think he has a long career ahead of him.
Huddle up, get in here. If you're lined up here, you gotta go over the middle with it to score.
Right. How do we make that happen?
I don't know.
But Citizens does.
Make sense of your money with Citizens, official bank of Eli Manning.
You've mentioned Greg Van Roten a couple times. How much do you think he's helped JMS coming along? You talk about how smart he is. He's also played center before, so he kind of knows what that world is like, and how he's kind of helped build that chemistry in the group overall with his veteran experience.
Yeah, I think GV is a huge part of the offensive line too, just because he's a veteran, but then obviously he's kind of like an extension of Schmidt and Carm on the field. So he helps out Schmidt in certain situations, and he's been a hell of a player in his career and helping us throughout the past 2 years I've been here and the guys around him. And it's funny because I want to say we pick on Schmidt because he's the youngest on the offensive line, but we kind of make life hard for him a little bit, but it comes from a place of love because it's the offensive line room in on teams is generally the closest room because we're together damn near every single day for from April to January. And so we, like I said, we don't pick on Schmidt, but we depend on him, and it's been great to have him. But then we depend on GV as well, because GV is, like I said, with Schmidt, one of the smartest guys on the field. And I think he's been huge for Schmidt because he's helped bring Schmidt's confidence up. And confidence is a huge thing in offensive line play. You have to be confident enough to go out there and know where you're going, how you're going to block them, and how you're going to win your matchup. And that's been huge.
I still remember when you got here, the first day you signed, you came in, we did an interview. It was a great conversation. We talked for like 12 or 15 minutes. And kind of what you predicted and said was going to happen has kind of happened. The offensive line has turned it around. There's now more of a strength of the team. You've elevated your play to the point now where you're being talked about as a potential Pro Bowl candidate this year. For you personally, where do you think the jump has occurred these last 2 years, where what you envisioned when you walked in this building and you signed here has ended up coming true?
I think it was my mentality coming in this building. Having the career I've had where I've been on multiple teams, I've been cut, I've been on P-squads, I've been benched, I've been put back in the starting lineup and been benched again, and I've had to travel literally from coast to coast, from Vegas to New York. It really made me, I had to decide whether I was going to really take this serious or just kind of be a journeyman the rest of my career. And, having 2 daughters as well right now really puts things into perspective. And how do I want them to see me when they look back on my career and say, my dad was this, my dad was that? I would love for them to be like, my dad was an all-pro, Pro Bowl right tackle. And so that's been huge. But also, I like to say things that I know that I'm capable of, and also set goals that people may think are out of reach for me, but I know are within reach because of the way I work, the way I approach this game, and also just I'm a confident guy. I'm confident. I can't say it on radio, obviously, but I'm confident AF, and there's no one who I go against who I don't think I can beat. I've been vocal about that, obviously. Micah, Aiden, Max coming up in a couple of weeks, Von Miller this week, Grenard, and Van Ginkel next week. It doesn't matter who I'm going against. I think I'm gonna win that matchup every single time, and that's just my mentality. And it's been cool to come into my own this year, but it's nothing that I'm surprised by because I put the work in every single day in the off season, every single day during the season. I don't think anyone prepares like me. I have one of the best O-line coaches in the NFL. I get to play next to a guy who I've played next to for 3 years now. And so, like I said, that chemistry has been huge for me. But then also, I want this really bad. I want to be the best right tackle in the league. I try to compare myself to Lane and Panay because they're the standard. And if you watch their tape and watch my tape, I truly don't see I don't think there's a drop off at all. And I know that's some people may be like, oh, maybe there is, but go put my tape on. We played the Lions. We played the Packers. Detroit played the Lions. They played the Packers.
Not to mention Denver, by the way. You led the league in sacks when you played him.
Exactly. Lane played against Hutchinson. He played against Micah. Well, I don't think they played against Micah yet. I think that's coming up soon if he comes back off IR. But, Panay played against Micah. And, if you want to compare us, go watch that matchup. And that's not a shot at anyone. That's just my self-belief and my mentality. Like, I think I'm the best right tackle in the league, and I'm not going to shy away from that.
You said earlier that you treat everybody the same way. But I know you look forward to these big matchups against these elite pass rushers, and you do a lot of work studying how they play, and you do prepare for their moves as individuals and adjust accordingly. So bring those two statements together for me, how you prep for their individual skill sets against these, ultra talented pass rushers, but at the same time, you treat them the same so that you can maintain chemistry with your guys.
I think that when you make matchups bigger than they are, which I've done in the past, you can fall into the trap where if you mess up, then it's all over. Like a couple years ago, I was playing TJ Watt on Sunday Night Football. It's the second game of the year when I was playing with the Raiders. And I built up this scene in my head of me and him just going at it 24/7, just like gladiators, And so I get out there, I'm doing my thing, and something goes wrong, and he gets a sack. And technically it's not my fault, but it's on me. And so after that play happened, mentally, I kind of just lost it. And I was like, gosh, damn, like I put in all this work. I've been waiting for this matchup. I had it circled on my calendar, and I just went out there and bang, it's over. Like now all everyone's going to talk about is how TJ Watt got this sack and TJ Watt this and TJ Watt that. And I fell into that trap last year again, playing him, where, I'm doing my thing against him the entire game. And then in the fourth quarter on third down, he gets around me, and, it wasn't all how it was meant to be, but he got around me and he got the strip sack, and that ultimately won the game for them. And so, that kind of made me go into like a downward spiral as well, because I was like, I put all this work in again to play this matchup again, and he got me. And ultimately, one-on-one, I won more reps than I lost. And I think that's really the only rep you got me on. And it just kind of made me crash out mentally, because I was like, I put in so much work for this one matchup, and, I didn't win it. But this year, it's been different because every matchup to me is huge. It doesn't matter if I'm going against a guy who they elevated off P Squad or the Rainham Defensive Player of the Year, who's a perennial All-Pro. I don't care who you are. I'm going to treat you like you're in the NFL. You're talented, and you wouldn't be out there if you wasn't capable of being one of the best at your position. So that's how I treat everyone. And I think that's why I've had success this year, because, we played against great players this year. I've been on islands against great players this year. But that mentality of, I'm going to treat you the same as I would treat Micah the same. I would treat, the Denver Broncos fourth string edge rusher. You're going to get the best out of me, and you're going to get my best every single rep. And like I said, that's been huge for me this season. And I think that's why I've been able to make a huge jump.
If you want to know how to manage 2 minutes of crunch time football, I'm your man. But if you're wondering about a long-term financial plan, you should talk to Citizens. Hey, I can also talk lawn care.
I'd like to learn about a mowing routine.
Yes, I knew I could help. Make sense of your money with Citizens.
You talk about all the work you put in. Can you explain for fans what your process is like when you're getting ready for one of these, elite edge rushers each week, or any edge rusher each week, trying to study them and making sure you're prepared for their individual skill set?
So I watch every single game they play in. So week one, we were playing Von Miller, and we're playing him again this week. But Von Miller is still Von Miller to me. He's taking less reps, but that just means he has way more gas in his tank, and he has more chances to beat you because he's going to come in on third down. He's playing a little bit more now, but he's still a hell of an edge rusher in my opinion. And so week one, to play him, I went back and watched all his games in 24, but then I also went back and watched him when he was at the Rams, when he was just dominating dudes. So I watched him with the Bills, and then I went back and watched him with the Rams, so I could kind of get a grip on how he likes to rush guys and his moves, and that helped me that week. But then also, Cooper and Benito, I played against them multiple times when I was with the Raiders, but they've really taken their game to a new level this year, and so I had to pay them the respect of going back and watching all their tape. Benito was a second team All-Pro last year, and Cooper got a big time contract because he earned it and he played his butt off and he turned into a really good player. So I went back and watched all their tape. The same thing with Micah. I went back and watched all the games in Dallas. And what I like to do is I like to pull up their stats on Google and see what games they had multiple hits or sacks or pressures. And so I'll go back and watch that game, but then also look at the game where they didn't do anything and the production was really low and see what that tackle did against them that worked and kept them out the game. And so, with Micah, I went back and watched his tape against the Tampa Bay right tackle, Gadecki, who I think is a really good player. Von Miller, I went back and watched him when he played Brian O'Neill last year, and the playoff game in Buffalo last season against Denver. Aiden Hutchinson, I watched 3 years worth of tape for him because I wanted that matchup really bad. Same thing this week. I watch every single week I play against a guy. Like, I watched multiple games from the Commanders earlier this year, and I'm familiar with them, but I went back and watched, I think I've watched maybe like 6-7 Commanders games so far. And, just studying the way they rush, what tendencies they have, how they like to react to certain sets I'll take, and just coming up with a game plan. I need to go out there and win my matchup.
All right, I usually ask about the individual game, but I think fans got plenty of the offensive line talk here. So let me just close with this. You talked about how you like to visualize things, but you're trying to stay disciplined mentally. Mm-hmm. Have you let yourself think ahead to what this March might look like when you have to make a decision, and the Giants have to make a decision as to whether or not this partnership will continue? If
I'm being honest, I think about it a little bit, but I don't let myself get carried away because it's still a job to do. I still have 4 more games. I still have 4 more big matchups for Miller and Jacob Martin this week, Renard and Ginkle next week. All pro ball caliber players who made Pro Bowls and all pros. The Raider game, which is, going to mean a lot for me, going back to the place where I feel like my career really got started and going against a guy in Max Crosby who really helped my career get started. And then the last game against Dallas, last game at home. So I still have a lot to do and a lot to accomplish, and for me to be able to make the push in order to, be considered for the Pro Bowl or even, all pro, I want to go out there and make sure I cement myself as one of the best right tackles in the league. And people are going to really watch these games now because I've been vocal about me being one of the best in my position. So it's like, this guy's talking, let's see what he's doing. So, like I said, I talk the talk, but I also believe I walk the walk, and I feel like you need to be able to do that in this profession, and I think I'm doing it how I need to do it.
It's been fun watching the play, Jermaine. Good luck with the Pro Bowl and all pro votes, and good luck this week against the Commanders.
Thank you.
Jermaine Eluemunor on the Giants Huddle podcast, brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. From the Hackensack Meridian Health Podcast Studio, keep getting better. We'll see you next time, everybody.